Now, this video is going to be interesting because we're going to take a look at the super mayor's new appointment. It may or may not be illegal. We'll discuss that when we get there. And we're going to actually go through a court case because I wanted to find out what actually happened with the new top cop in Dolton and his son. I wanted to get the facts, and the best way to find the facts is to always go to the court case. Yep, let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and pull up this complaint because I want to see what expressly did Ronald Burgess Jr. do. Now, this case was interesting because it went all the way to the highest court in the state. Now, I'm not even going to read the highest court in the state opinion. I'm going to read the appellate division because it was appealed to the Court of Appeals. Then it went to the highest court in the state. They lost. The conviction appears to be upheld, but I wanted to read the facts of it because I was like, damn, his son assaulted, allegedly. Well, no, his son assaulted because he's convicted a 60-something-year-old lady. Dad is saying no, she was acting wild. She was wilding out. You could be a thug at 60, 70. Age is not a factor in thugism, according to Dad. So I wanted to see what the meat and potatoes was of what was going on with Ronald Burge Jr., so we can identify if the appointment of this top cop is a much worse appointment than Lewis Lacy. I'm going to go out on a limb before we start and say no, because I looked at the litigation that Lewis Lacy was involved in, and it was excessive use of force. It was everything from car chases to, I mean, he was just involved in a plethora of shit that you wouldn't want your top cop to have a history in. When I looked at the previous litigation around Ronald Burge Sr., the new top cop, it was more of employment Title VII discrimination matters. I read one of the cases and it was boring as hell. All right. A grand jury indicted defendant on several counts of aggravated battery, official misconduct, and disorderly conduct. The state proceeded to trial against him on 4 counts of aggravated battery and 1 count of official misconduct. Now, I will tell you the fact that you're a police officer or law enforcement and state prosecutors move to pursue charges against you, you probably did some fuck shit. Because normally, the state prosecutors aren't going to be in a rush to prosecute cops for things because they need cops to do the job. We saw in Baltimore with Marilyn Mosby, I believe, when she prosecuted law enforcement and they stopped doing work, and Baltimore was even more of a cesspool of crime than what it would normally be. So typically, if state prosecutors are prosecuting police, some wild shit had to have happened. Okay. All right. State proceeded to trial against him on 4 counts of aggravated battery and 1 count of official misconduct. Count 2 alleged that the defendant committed aggravated battery by striking Carla Bourgeois head against the wall while on public property. Count 4 alleged that defendant committed aggravated battery by striking Bourgeois head against the wall while knowing she was 60 years of age or older. Count 5 alleged the defendant committed official misconduct by committing a battery while in his capacity as a police officer. Count 8 alleged the defendant committed an aggravated battery by dragging Bourgeois with his arm across her neck and chest, with her feet at times dangling off the ground while on a public way or public property. Count 9 alleges that defendant committed aggravated battery by dragging Bourgeois with his arm across her neck and chest, with her feet at times dragging off the ground, knowing she was 60 or older. Most times when you have a regular crime, they keep talking about the 60 or older. If you have a regular crime of, let's say, theft, most states will have theft of a vulnerable adult or vulnerable person. If you got a regular assault charge, you have assault of a vulnerable person. Vulnerable persons are elderly, children, and person with developmental and cognitive delays. All right, the case proceeded to jury trial where Bourgeois was the state's only witness. She testified that on October 5th, 2019, she was 5 feet 1 inch tall, weighed approximately 112 pounds. Damn, Grandma was a lightweight. 112 pounds and was 65 years old. That morning, Bourgeois saw her brother-in-law outside her home. When he refused to leave, Bourgeois called the Dixmoor Police Department. Sergeant Villegas and Officer Thompson responded. Hold on, give me 1 second. I need to see if I could. Officer Thompson responded. Instead of removing Bourgeois' brother-in-law, Sergeant Villegas and Officer Thompson got into an argument with one of her grandsons, Kajon. The argument escalated, and as Bourgeois grabbed Kajon while Sergeant Villegas and Officer Thompson were trying to arrest him, they all fell into a ditch. Ultimately, the officers arrested Kajon. Okay, so these officers already fell in the dirt because grandma tried to grab the grandson. It looks like everybody lost their balance. So I'm assuming they already not happy about that shit. Is probably the case. All right, it says Bourgeois and her daughter Mia, who is Kajon's mother, went to the Dixboro police station to find out why Kajon had been arrested. But according to Bourgeois, they were not able to speak to anyone. Video evidence admitted and played at trial, however, showed Bourgeois and Mia discussing the incident with Officer Thomas and Sergeant Villegas. Bourgeois left the police station, and when she returned, Mia was there along with Jarvis Sr., Kajuan's father, and three children, two of which were Bourgeois' grandchildren, and one of which was Jarvis Sr.'s child. They bringing their whole family here. That's a bad look to kids and shit. Sorry, all this reading, the brother's throat got parched. While in the lobby, defendant appeared to discuss the incident with Bourgeois. According to her, defendant was upset that he had to come to the police station on his day off. So right now they're talking about Officer Ronald Burge Jr. While they were talking, Jarvis Sr. was recording the encounter with his cell phone, which defendant asserted was illegal. Which it wasn't, but that's a whole nother story. Defendant gave Jarvis Sr. an ultimatum to either give him the phone or be arrested. Jarvis Sr. chose the latter. Still, defendant attempted to retrieve the phone, but the family passed it amongst each other, with Jarvis Sr. eventually getting it back. Video evidence was consistent with Bourgeois' testimony. As defendant began to lead Jarvis Sr. out of the lobby and into the non-public area of the police station, Bourgeois started recording with her phone. Bourgeois followed them to the door separating the lobby and non-public area, which indicated the non-public area was restricted. She propped the door open, though did not cross the door's threshold. She propped the door open, though did not cross the door's threshold, and continued recording. Defendant immediately yelled, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," which prompted Bourgeois to run out of the police station. She crossed West 145th Street, which was adjacent to the station, and ran into the parking lot, all in an effort to keep her phone. At trial, Bourgeois denied that she heard defendant telling her to stop or that she was under arrest. Video evidence, however, showed that the defendant yelled at her that she was under arrest as she ran out of the station. Nah, that's gonna be. I think that's reasonable. You got an old ass, late 60s, not old, but you got an older woman who's in a stressed out environment. She's trying to get her phone. Is dealing with the cops. Normally, if you dealing with the cops, it could go left at any time. So it's not uncommon. I don't think it's unbelievable that she didn't hear his statement that she was under arrest. Video evidence further showed defendant chased after Bourgeois with Sergeant Villegas, Mia, and the three children all running outside. This is a shit show. After Bourgeois ran into the parking lot, she paused behind various vehicles, while behind those vehicles and out of the view of the security camera. Defendant caught up to her. Shortly after, Mia, the three children, and Sergeant Villegas all disappeared behind the vehicles in the parking lot. According to Bourgeois, once defendant caught her, he took out his firearm and grabbed her around the chest and neck. Video evidence showed defendant with his left arm around Bourgeois and a firearm in his right hand, pointed towards the ground. Sorry, I'm giving him extra shit he didn't do. Firearm grabbed her around his neck. Video evidence showed defendant with his left arm around Bourgeois and a firearm in his right hand and pointed towards the ground a couple of feet into West 145th Street. As this occurred, Mia and the three children can be seen yelling at defendant, with Sergeant Villegas right by them, while a black SUV drove slowly towards them. As the vehicle drove near them, defendant dragged Bourgeois closer towards the middle of West 145th Street. The vehicle slowed down and briefly stopped for several feet in front of the defendant and Bourgeois. with Sergeant Villegas, Mia, and the three children all congregated around it. Although Bourgeois testified that her family was yelling at defendant, she denied that any of them threatened him. Once the vehicle left the scene, Officer Thomas came outside and walked towards the defendant. Bourgeois testified that neither she nor anyone else with her was armed with a weapon. According to Bourgeois, defendant then lifted her off her feet and dragged her to the back door of the police station. Video evidence showed defendant dragged Bourgeois several feet to the back door of the police station with his left arm around her neck and with a firearm in her right hand. This fuck shit. Her right hand. At times, her feet dangled off the ground. While defendant dragged Bourgeois, the rest of her family members remained in the parking lot at the back door of the police station. No, defendant pinned Bourgeois against the back door of the police station with his body. According to Bourgeois, due to defendant's conduct, she was losing her breath and trying to prevent herself from being choked to death. Video evidence showed Mia approach the back door of the police station, yelling at defendant and forcibly walking within inches of him while being restrained by Sergeant Villegas, with Officer Thomas at his side. A dispatcher opened the back door and the defendant dragged Bourgeois inside with his arms stiff around her neck. Video evidence showed defendant give his firearm to the dispatcher. According to Bourgeois, after taking a few steps down the hallway, defendant pinned her against the wall and bashed her face against the wall multiple times. Defendant then swung Bourgeois around and pushed her against the counter on the opposite side of the hallway. Video evidence was generally consistent with Bourgeois' testimony at trial. Bourgeois denied being aggressive towards defendant or ever hitting or scratching him. Let me see. I'm trying to see, is this worthwhile? Because I think we got enough here. Let's see. In the defendant's case, defendant testified that he was 33 years old, 6 foot tall, and weighed between 235 and 240 on October 5th. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, same thing. Is same. Essentially, this is the defendant's description of the facts. At trial, although the defendant conceded it was not illegal to record police officers performing their duties, he claimed that it was illegal to record in the secure area of the police station. But according to the previous paragraph, it didn't look like at the time of the recording, when it started, they were in the restricted area. Defendant told Jarvis that he would have to take him into custody, blah, blah, blah. Defendant chased her because she disobeyed a lawful arrest order. And when he approached her behind vehicles in the parking lot, he tried to grab her shoulder. As he reached for Bourgeois, she punched him. This sounds like Cap. As he reached for Bourgeois, she punched him and dug her nails into his groin area. Defendant was able to get a hold of Bourgeois and walked her into West 145th Street. Yeah, his facts sound Cat. While performing the one near the earlobe, Bourgeois' body jerked and her head bumped the wall. Is he making it seem like it was inadvertent? Bourgeois continued to resist in the hallway before defendant was able to get her into the holding cell with Jarvis Sr. Following closing arguments, the jury found the defendant guilty on 2 counts of aggravated battery being based on the public property and 1 count of official misconduct, but not guilty on the 2 counts of aggravated battery premised upon knowing Bourgeois was 60 years of age following the defendant's unsuccessful motion for a new trial. Okay, so he filed a motion to appeal. Those are essentially the facts of it. Let's go ahead and I don't know. It's gonna be kind of interesting. I'm just going through checking out some of the comments. Yeah. I'm just going through checking out some of the comments. I just bought a Cigar 38 pistol and I had to pass a federal background check. It took 3 days. It depends what state you're in. I bought something in another state and down south, and that background check came back in like 3 minutes. Let's see. If there's no spelled out with approved applicant, most municipalities have stipulations Thornton and Dolton lack proper ordinances. They shooting everything from the hip. All right, not to mention that Lacey lied on bankruptcy records, so he's also extremely dishonest and no morals, which I agree. The fact that he didn't release the entire surveillance video lets you know he was covering up for his son, which he was. I don't disagree with that. It's called abuse of the infirm. Let's see. It's called aggravated assault, aggravated battery, false arrest, false imprisonment. I agree. His father claims that the state attorney completely misrepresented the facts of this case. I seriously doubt that. Ronald Byrd Sr. appointment, null and void. Trustees have restraining order voiding this appointment. Judge just removed Tiff new chief on. Okay, nice. We're going to pull up that video. As always, gotta give extra time and a shout out to those who drop a super chat. Gossip on the street is okay. Gossip on the street is that the top cop and Michael Smith and the lawyers have a temporary restraining order for illegal hire in Dolton Village, so they cannot sit on the podium. I know I did. Everybody's been saying that in the chat. Let me see if I can go ahead and cue that video up so we can dive into it. Let's see. Georgia is decertified by the state and is eligible to chief. And I did see a news story where they said that his certification wasn't active. I'm not sure what that means because when you say something is, it said it was inactive. Inactive could be a bunch of things. I didn't dive into it, but I did see a news article that says his law enforcement certification was inactive. I don't know if it's inactive due to, like, if I don't pay my bar dues, my ability to practice law would become inactive. I don't know if it's inactive due to I have a disciplinary complaint that was filed with the Bar Association and I'm in an active status because they said I suck